I got a question to start out this one. I need you to go back in a time machine to go back to when you were a teenager. All right, so just get in the DeLorean, go back to when you were a teenager. Now, some of you are a teenager. You don't have to go back in time at all. Some of you got to go back hundreds of years, okay? I'm kidding. But I'm curious, what was your first real job as a teenager? Like real job, like the government knows about it. Not like, hey, I sold Beanie Babies on the street corner out of a Longaberger basket in the 90s. And then, like, don't incriminate yourself, but what was your first real job? Okay, so I just need some of you guys to tell me as a teenager. Okay, go ahead, Michael. McDonald's, yes, I'm loving it. All right, yes, I go there. I went there the other day, and I'm embarrassed, but whatever. A bakery, okay. We're in the food category so far. I'm feeling hungry. Back there?
Clerk at a hardware store.
Hardware store. All right, yeah. I don't know any of the things that are in hardware stores, but I go in there and act like I know what I'm doing. All right, my first job, well, actually, we'll just put a picture of it on the screen. I asked AI to make me a lifeguard, and I put my picture in, and it turned me into David Hasselhoff, okay? This is my head, and listen, David Hasselhoff needs to zip up the jacket. You know what I'm saying? That's a little too much for everybody. But my first job was a lifeguard. Where are my past and present lifeguards at in the room? Anybody? Thank you for your service. Everybody on this side, nobody on this side, okay? So I was a lifeguard. Now, I feel like I need to come clean because I wasn't, this makes me look like a beach lifeguard, and this looks very believable. This picture looks very real. But I was actually a pool lifeguard. So let's update the picture, okay? All right, I think they need to put some chlorine in that pool. Listen, a pool lifeguard is just as important, people, because you can lose your, pool noodle in the deep end, and that we live for moments like that. Now, I'll be honest, as a teenager, I always wanted to be a beach lifeguard, and I never thought I had what it took, I didn't have the skill of David Hasselhoff.
Yes, you did.
I didn't have the strength of David Hasselhoff, and I never thought it would happen for me. But I got to be an honorary Bethany Beach Patrol lifeguard for 10 minutes 2 Thursdays ago. Come on, somebody, okay? That's true. And so I feel like we need to update this picture to one more accurate. I feel very uncomfortable about this picture, I'll be honest. The reason I got to be an honorary Bethany Beach Patrol lifeguard for 10 minutes is because Lieutenant Banks from the Bethany Beach Patrol reached out to me and asked me if I would do a blessing of the guards to pray for all the lifeguards that they would have a safe rest of the season. And it was like the coolest thing I think I've ever been invited to do. And we actually have a real picture from the blessing of the guards. By the way, I have never been surrounded by so many abs in my life. I was like, could one of you spare one ab for me, okay? Like, this is ridiculous, all you people. But in all seriousness, I got to stand on the beach at Bethany Beach and just pray for these lifeguards in public, and I just thought it was so cool. And I was thinking that I sort of have the same job as these guys. Like my job, the same as these guys, is to look for people to help save, to look for people to help rescue. And my job description doesn't necessarily come from Lieutenant Banks. Lieutenant Banks is right next to me right here. It actually comes from Matthew 28, where Jesus says, hey, go and tell people about me, saving people, rescuing people. The difference between me and the people in this picture is when I throw like a flotation device at people, it says the name Jesus on it. When I see somebody who's drowning who walks in here on Sunday morning, I'm the one who says, hey, just breathe. It's going to be okay. There's hope. Grab onto this. I'll pull you to shore. It's not really me pulling you to shore. It's Jesus who's pulling you to shore. And so I heard somebody say one time that I'm kind of adapting this for me. I'm just a nobody who's willing to tell anybody about a somebody who wants to save everybody. Amen. That's my job description. And by the way, that's your job description too. And so today, here's what my last leftover talk is all about. We'll put this on the screen. We're going to talk about what does it mean to be saved. So I want you to turn to the person next to you and say, ain't nobody drowning in the basement today. Come on, go ahead and tell them. Nobody's drowning today. So today we're going to talk about a funny Bible term, a weird Bible term called salvation. Everybody say salvation. Now, I know. Some of you are like, come on, Joel. Why we got to talk about this in church? Everybody here is saved, Joel, okay? And we're glad you're here, Hank, your holiness, and I'm sure you parked perfectly upstairs. But I just want to promise you there are three different groups of people in this room right now, okay? There's those of you who, if I said, hey, if you were to die today, like, would you go to heaven? And one group would be like, yes. 100%, no questions asked, okay? And then there's a group of people in the room that would say that if you died, you would go to heaven. You would say, I think that's true sometimes. Like I'm in church right now, so I feel like that would happen. You know, I'll go to heaven right now, but on Friday night, I was at the starboard. I was 3 sheets to the wind, and I don't know if I would have went to heaven then, but I saw this girl, and she sure was pretty, and I felt like I was in heaven. And you'd be like, it's situational. Like when, I don't know. And then there's some of you who are like, yeah, I don't know. I'm not saved and I don't even know how I got here. Some friend tricked me into coming to church today. And I just want to tell you, all three different groups are in this building right now. And I love that about our church. And just know this, not everybody is in your category. And so let's talk about what does it mean to be saved? Because being saved isn't just, I said a prayer at Bible camp when I was 8 years old, and Sister Susie prayed that prayer, and that's what it is. It's not just, I said a prayer in a basement below a sub shop one Sunday, and after I said the prayer, I celebrated with a sub at the sub shop. No. Salvation is way, 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 way bigger and better than that. Are you ready for this? Salvation is God's master plan to rescue all of us from drowning in sin. Come on, somebody. Now, if you were to go to seminary, which is like preaching at school, they call salvation, the study of salvation, soteriology. And I ain't going to say that word anymore, okay? I'm pretty sure I barely even got that out right then, okay? So today, we're not going to talk about soteriology we're going to be more creative about how we talk about salvation. We're going to take a little journey together. Can we take a journey today? All right, so here's the journey that we're going to go on, the salvation journey. All right, now I'm going to give you a heads up. The first 2 stops on the journey are rough. Everybody say rough. Okay, rough terrain, all right? And you're going to want to leave, okay? And I want you to stay here, okay? Because at the end, it's going to get good. It's going to get like, going to King's Ice Cream in Lewis on a hot summer night. Come on, somebody. So if you promise me not to walk out of here on the first 2 steps, just say, I like ice cream. Just say, I like ice cream if you promise not to walk out. Do you guys like ice cream? You better. Okay. All right. So the first 2 stops we're going to hit is depravity and wrath. So let me read. We're going to be in Ephesians chapter 2, starting in verse 1. By the way, if you do not have a Bible, we give these out every Sunday, so grab one on your way out. But in the meantime, we got a big old digital Bible out here on the screen. And so this is what it says. It says, once you were dead because of your disobedience and your many sins. And let me just stop there, okay? In other words, before we're saved, we're not bad. Before we're saved, we're dead. Welcome to church. Aren't you glad you came to Bayshore today? But being saved isn't about being bad or good. It's about, am I following Jesus or not? And so it says, you used to live in sin just like the rest of the world. So this is kind of like an all skate. We're all in the same boat with this. Obeying the devil, the commander of the powers in the unseen world. He is the spirit at work in the hearts of those who refuse to obey God. All of us. Everybody say all of us. All of us used to live that way, following the passionate desires and inclinations of our sinful nature. By our very nature, we were subject to God's anger. Everybody say wrath. Just like everyone else. Now, I know some of you are like, thanks for reading that passage to us, Joe. I'm going to go ahead and leave today. Okay, I'm leaving right now. But wait, King's Ice Cream at the end. Just hang with me. The first 2 stops on the salvation journey is depravity and wrath. Everybody say depravity. And everybody say wrath. Okay, so let's define what that is. Let's put this on the screen. Depravity means we're all sinners. Did you catch the all part? Okay. We are all sinners. Wrath is God's judgment against our sin. Now, how many of you know there is a lot of sin in the person next to you? Come on. Just raise your hand if you know there's some sin in the person next to you. Go ahead. Come. few of you raise your hands. All right, that's how I know you're sinners, because you enjoy that way too much. Hey, can I just tell you about somebody else's sin other than mine for once? I'm always like airing my dirty laundry, but can I talk about somebody else's dirty laundry, which is probably a sin, for just once? Okay. Okay. So you guys know that in the morning I go to Royal Farms for a breakfast. Yes, it's terrible, all right, and I'm not proud of it. It's who I am, people. And so a few weeks ago, I went to Royal Farms, and I know the manager at Royal Farms. His name Brett. This is my buddy. I got a picture of my buddy Brett. We'll put up on the screen. This is Brett. This is my do barista right here. And so I was paying for my drink. I was talking to Brett, and I was like, hey, man, how's your morning going? Because I'm in there super early, and I'm like, how's your morning going? And the girl who was at the other register, her name's Kristen. I know everybody who works in my Royal Farms, okay? If you don't know the people that's in your life, you should get to know these people. So I know Kristen. And Kristen said, oh, Brett's morning's terrible. And I'm like, why? And she said, well, because this dude just threw a scrapple sandwich at his head. And I was like, who from my church has been in Royal Farms this morning? Like, which one of you all did this? So here's what happened, okay? So this guy ordered a scrapple sandwich. So I already kind of like the guy, you know what I mean? Yeah. So ordered a scrapple sandwich. Small problem. Royal Farms forgot to put the scrapple on the scrapple sandwich. And so my man really wanted scrapple, so he's out in the parking lot, takes his first bite of his scrapple-less sandwich, finds out there's no scrapple in it. He comes in, and he launches a scrapple sandwich rocket at Brett's head. Now, I don't know this for sure, but that's 100% an Eagles fan who did that. Like, this sounds like an Eagles fan to me. I don't know. Y'all are sinners. It's a good thing you're here today. But if you think throwing a scrapple sandwich at somebody's head is sin, would you just say scrapple sandwich depravity? That's a lot to say, isn't it? Scrapple sandwich depravity. Now, I don't know if you've ever launched a scrapple sandwich at Royal Farms at somebody before or not, but I would bet you a scrapple sandwich from Royal Farms that you have done some sinning in your life. Isn't that true? Yeah. Some of you are like, in my life, I did it on my way to church this morning, okay? I was like, woo! But here's what sin is. Sin is whenever we miss God's mark. And so sin is when, I don't know, you kind of sort of, lie about your time on your timesheet at work. Or sin could be like when you kind of sort of sleep with somebody who's not your person, who you're not married to, okay? Don't shoot the messenger, okay? But that would be sin. Sin would be like maybe this morning on your way to church on Route 24, you gave somebody some sign language and let them know they are number one. Sin is, well, you know what your sin is. Sin is when we miss God's mark. And sin doesn't make you bad. Sin makes you, well, dead, according to the Bible. And so it makes you dead. But sin that's in all of us is called depravity. Now, just because we all sin doesn't make it okay. Because remember, wrath is God's judgment against our sin. And so don't miss this. Yes, God loves us more than we can imagine. Okay, He loves you more than you can imagine. That's true. But also, God hates your sin more than you can imagine. Let me kind of illustrate it this way. I have one Aldi egg here today. Who shops at Aldi? Where are my Aldi shoppers? Okay. A lot of Christians in the room. That's good. This isn't a Giant egg. If you go to shop at Giant, it's a good thing you're here today. You do lots of sinning at Giant. Okay, this is an Aldi egg. This is a cheap egg. All right, I want you to imagine that this represents all of our sin. This egg represents all of our sin, okay? Now, you probably can't see this, and I'm going to have to lift this, but this is going to be fun. This is my 52.5-pound dumbbell adjustable weight that I use 5 days a week at my house. Can't you tell? No, you can't. That's why I'm probably going to take this back, because I don't think it's actually working for me. But let's say that this, somebody's been messing with my weights. Oh, no, let's get to 52.5 pounds. There we go. Let's say that this represents God's wrath, okay? So judgment looks like maybe me holding this over my head and smashing this egg that represents our sin, okay? Now, I would think about doing it, but I don't think I can lift this over my head, which is another reason why I think I'm going to take this thing back. Now I'm out of breath. Okay. And listen, this egg can't get out of the way of God's wrath, because remember, we're the egg. It's our sin, and we're dead, okay? So it can't just kind of like move out of the way. And we'll put this on the screen. A 52.5-pound dumbbell smashing a little egg is 0.0000001% of what our God's wrath looks like towards our sin. That's the consequence of depravity and our holy God's wrath. Are you guys with me? Whew, you got through the hardest part. Because the good news is this is only true without salvation. Thank goodness. So let's go back on the salvation journey. We got through the hardest two parts, okay? So now we move to love and atonement. Now, remember those first three verses I read you today? The ones about depravity and wrath? Is anybody thinking about putting those on the bumper sticker on the back of your car? No? Okay. Well, you might want to put the next two verses on the bumper sticker of your car. This is in verses 4 through 5. It says, but. Everybody say, oh, thank goodness. It talked about all this depravity and wrath, but then it says, but because of his great what? Love for us. God, who is rich in mercy, made us alive with Christ, even when we were dead in sin. It is by grace, not your good works. It's by grace that you have been, come on church, you have been saved. Okay, so remember this, and we'll put this on the screen. All right, love is God's mercy towards all his people. And atonement means Jesus died to pay for all God's people's sins. And I don't know who needs to hear this today, but God does not want this 52.5-pound dumbbell to come crashing down on your Aldi egg-shaped head. He does not want that to happen, okay? How do I know? One name, Jesus. Jesus, okay? Because God sent Jesus to be this egg for us. And so that's who Jesus is. He became this sin for us. And so on the cross, okay, Jesus is proof of God's love because Jesus became the egg and he transferred forgiveness on over to us and he paid our penalty. And that is called atonement, which means, okay, you broke the law and the law lost. Let's do that again. You broke the law and the law. Okay, this should be fascinating. How many of you have gotten a parking ticket or a traffic ticket in the last, I don't know, let's say 10 years? Just raise your hand if you got a parking or traffic ticket in the last 10. That's okay. Let's keep going. How many of you gotten at least 2 parking or traffic tickets in the last 10 years? Come on. All right, 3. Can I go 3? Can we get a 3? Can I get a 3? Can I get a 3? Anybody got a 4? We got a 4 up in here. Okay, 4. Okay, let's go 5. Anybody 5? Okay. All right, let's just end there. All right. By the way, I'm going to wait for all you guys to leave the parking lot before I get in my car and leave to go home today. But I've gotten 2 parking tickets in the last 10 years that I can remember. I think it's only 2. So one, I was at the Ocean City Inlet parking lot, and I paid through the Park mobile app to park in the parking lot. Small problem. You know how on your license plate there's these little letters that don't really matter, P and C, like some have the P and the C? Apparently those 2 letters are important. And they matter a lot, okay? Because if you don't put the P and C in the Park mobile app, then the Ocean City Police Department will think you are a criminal, and then they will fine you $80, and then the pastor may commit the sin of foul language in the Ocean City Inlet parking lot, hypothetically. So I paid, but I got to pay the parking penalty because I didn't put the P and C in there. So I got up with the Ocean City Police Department, and I told them what happened, and they gave me grace. Which is why I love Ocean City, because they didn't make me pay for the parking ticket. Now, I can't say the same thing about Bethany Beach, because on May 17th of this year, the pastor who may have had some foul language problems at the Ocean City Inlet parking lot years ago may have forgotten to pay for parking, because parking starts on May 15th, and it was May 17th, and in my defense, I just forgot. And also in my defense, I feel like locals shouldn't have to pay to park. That's just what I'm saying, okay? And if you're a tourist from out of town, we are glad you're here. Make sure you put P and C in the Park mobile app so you can cover all of our bills so we don't have to pay for parking around here. But I thought, well, Bethany Beach will give me grace because I'm a local and I don't throw scrapple sandwiches at people's heads in the Royal Farms, okay? So I'm going to let them know. And so I let them know, and they said, hey, you broke the law. And the law won. and you need to pay your fine. And I thought, fine, I'll just move to Ocean City. But here's my point. I can cover my Bethany Beach parking penalty, but I cannot cover my sin penalty. And neither can you. Listen, we would crack like an Aldi egg if we had to feel God's wrath come crushing down on us. But watch this, and this is why we end every Sunday with a salvation prayer. This is in 2 Corinthians 5, verse 21. It says, God made him who had no sin. By the way, that's just talking about Jesus. He made him who had no sin to be sin for us, so that in Jesus we might become the righteousness of God. I'm going to read that again, and you can feel free to go nuts at the end if you want, okay? God made him who had no sin, we're talking about Jesus, to be sin for us, so that in him we might become the righteousness of God. I mean, come on. That is huge. Okay, so listen, God's message for you today in church isn't, I want to condemn you. That's not his message for you. His message is, I love you more than you can even comprehend. And so when you take this salvation journey, okay, in other words, when you believe in your heart and you confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord, then all of our sin moments, all of our scrapple sandwich throwing moments, okay, they get forgiven by Jesus because Jesus took on our sin penalty on the cross so that we wouldn't have to experience God's wrath. And that's what makes us the righteousness of God. Come on. Let's go on 2 more stops on the salvation journey, okay? So we're going to move on to 2 more great ones, forgiveness and justification. Now, let me back up 1 second. Maybe you're sitting here and you're thinking, okay, how in the world can a jacked up sinner like the person sitting next to me, how can we become the righteousness of God? Like, Joel, have you breathed in too much Canadian wildfire smoke air this week? Like, what are you talking about? How can we become the righteousness of God? Forgiveness and justification. That's how, okay? And we'll put this on the screen, okay? Forgiveness, if you want to know, it means our sin debt is canceled because of Jesus' sacrifice. Our sin debt is canceled because of Jesus' sacrifice. And justification, some of you know, this is a word you've heard. You don't really know what it means. But it is Jesus' righteousness being transferred to us. Everybody say transferred. Has anybody noticed that airfare is super expensive right now? Is it just me who has noticed how expensive it is to fly? It's so expensive to fly, which is why my family shops at Aldi. If we bought giant eggs, then we would not be able to be on some beach somewhere in the winter. But instead, we try to save our money and we shop at Aldi. And the eggs taste the same, I'm pretty sure. Anyway, enough of my commercial. Aldi will be sponsoring today's YouTube video. I remember a few years, well, actually not a few years ago, about this time last year, I was standing on the stage. I said the same thing. I said, listen, airfare is so expensive. Me and my wife are trying to go somewhere and like we just can't find prices that we can afford. And so after the service, some kind man in our church came to me right out in the lobby and he said, hey, you remember you mentioned about like some airfare in the service today? He said, well, I have like unlimited American airline points. I can't even use all my airline points. And he said, I would like to transfer my airline points to you to pay for you and your wife to go on a trip. Wow. I know. I thought I should talk about what I can't afford up here more often. That's my sinful nature is leaking out. You hear it? Did I say it out loud? Anyway. So then it got real awkward because he was like, well, where are you going? And I know he was thinking, I'm paying for my pastor's wife to go dig wells in Africa. But we were trying to go to Cancun to celebrate our love, our anniversary, okay? Glory to God. And I told him Cancun, and it was embarrassing. And he said, no worries, okay? I just want to transfer my points to you. And so what that meant is he didn't pay for it. Or I'm sorry, I didn't pay for it. I couldn't pay for it. He transferred it over to me. Here's my tie-in, okay? The airfare for our sin mileage is way out of our price range. But Jesus has unlimited righteousness points. And on the cross, he transfers those unlimited righteousness points to us. Okay, that's forgiveness and that is justification. And so I want you to turn to the sinful person next to you, and I want you to tell him, Jesus transferred unlimited righteousness points to you, you lucky duck. Jesus transferred his unlimited righteousness points to you, you lucky duck. All right, that's a lot to say. Should have made that simpler. You think I would have learned after 3 services, but that's justification. Listen, these words are big and they're confusing. But just think about this. Justification, it's just as if you never sinned. Remember it that way. Justification, it's just as if you never sinned. I mean, is anybody grateful in the room that forgiveness and salvation means it's just as if you never sinned? I mean, that's just amazing to me. Now, I know some of you are like, well, Joe, how can Jesus do all that? Like, what makes Jesus so special? Can I read you one of my favorite passages in Acts chapter 4? This is a picture taker, okay? Acts chapter 4, verse 10. It says, it is by the name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth, whom you crucified, but whom God raised from the dead, that this man and you all, this man and us, okay, stands before you healed. Jesus is the stone you builders rejected, which has become the cornerstone. Salvation is found in no one else, for there is no other name under heaven given to mankind by which we must be saved. Amen. Now, what makes Jesus different? Okay, what gives him the power to do all the stuff we've talked about today? Because, okay, he's the only one who can save us. And the one thing that makes Jesus different than every other major religion is his tomb is empty. His tomb's empty. Now, my son Nixon, he has a new favorite song. It's a Forrest Frank song. Got some Forrest Frank fans probably in the room. His favorite song right now is Jesus is Alive. And so that is, if you know the song, it thumps, okay? And my neighborhood has heard the RAV4 pastor driving around thumping to Jesus is Alive. And the hydrangeas in my neighborhood have been, vibrating. And I'm pretty sure they've had HOA meetings about me, okay? And I've been driving real slow listening to Jesus is Alive because my HOA just lowered the speed limit in our neighborhood to 18. Yeah. And I'd be willing to drive around at 24 miles an hour playing that music, but no, it's at 18 miles an hour right now. But Nixon loves this song, and I love this song, and it tells us why Jesus is different. So let's just go ahead and play 40 seconds of this. Feel free to move a little bit if you need to. This song is great. Go ahead.
Muhammad is still in his tomb, and Joseph Smith is still in his tomb, and Buddha is still in his tomb, and Confucius is still in his tomb. But there is one man who was not found in the tomb. I've been there. The tomb is empty. He was seen alive by over 500 eyewitnesses who wrote down accurate accounts that we saw the man who hung on a cross, and we touched his scars. Watch his word. Alive.
Jesus is the King and he's alive. Hallelujah, Jesus is alive. I look at the grave and the stones rolled aside.
Yes. I saw a movement out of 2 people in this service, which is 200% more than I got in every other service, okay? So I'm counting that as a win. Listen, I think when you go home today, when we all get in our cars in the parking lot, we should roll the windows down. Not roll them. You press the button, people. We're not in 1990. Press the button. Forrest Frank, Jesus is Alive. Just crank it. It's such a good song. It's such a good song because it's got such a clear message. We'll put up on the screen, okay? This is the message, okay? Muhammad is still in his tomb. Joseph Smith is still in his tomb. Buddha is still in his tomb. Confucius is still in his tomb. But there is one man who is not found in the tomb. Why? Because Jesus is the King and he's alive. Amen. And I would sing it, but I can't, okay? I'm not Forrest Frank. But here's how I know this is true. And here's how many of you know this is true. Because he's changing us. Amen. How many of you have been changed in some way by Jesus? In some way. Amen. Look at that. Listen, hands down, let's do this. How many of you are still being changed in some way by Jesus? Right there. I'm thankful for that because I've seen how you all drive up here. So he needs to continue to change you all. But what I just pointed out is the last step on the salvation journey. And it's this. We'll go back. It's sanctification. Sanctification is a really big, confusing Bible word, and we don't need to make it confusing, okay? Here's what sanctification means. We'll put it on the screen. You guys just raise your hands to what it means, okay? Sanctification means salvation is a process that transforms our lives. And you're sitting in a room full of sanctification stories. You're sitting in a room full of ex-addicts, ex-self-absorbed people, ex-angry people, ex-jealous people, ex-Pittsburgh Steelers fans. I can dream, okay? And maybe you're like, well, Joel, I think I'm saved, but like I still do some of those things. Me too. That's because you're sitting in a room full of sanctification in process stories as well. You're sitting in a room full of people who are going to be ex-addicts, who are going to be ex-jealous, who are going to be ex-angry, who are going to be ex-self-absorbed, because that is sanctification. This salvation journey is a process of transforming our lives. It's a journey, and it's so good. And it's why I feel like I have the best job in the entire world, because I get to tell people every single Sunday that there is a Savior who wants to rescue you from drowning in sin. And I prayed all week long that some of you would make that decision and come home to Jesus today. Now, I had a way I was going to end today's message. I had all locked in. And then I felt like on Wednesday, God's like, nope, not doing that one. And that's happened twice in the last, 3 or 4 months. And I'm like, come on, God. Like I had a tear jerker. You guys would have been crying. But God said, you said there's going to be ice cream. So make it happy. I was like, okay, I'll try to make it happy. Or at least talk about ice cream. Does anybody like ice cream in the room? Love ice cream. Now, I started out by saying something about King's ice cream in Lewis. King's ice cream is great. It's kind of like classic, old school, nice, classy. But I want to tell you about Bonky's ice cream. Does anybody know about Bonky's ice cream in Bethany Beach? Okay. It's kind of like hippie ice cream place. Like you got to wear tie-dye to go in there, and maybe a shirt, maybe not. I don't know. But let me back up a little bit. This week has been interesting in my house because my boy Nixon hasn't been there all week long. He went to camp at Camp Barnes, and Camp Barnes is the coolest thing. The Delaware State Police put it on, and it's just an outreach to the community, and it's totally free, which is my love language. But Monday through Friday, my boy Nixon was there, and they bring in like the Delaware State Trooper helicopter. They bring in detectives and show them how to like dust for fingerprints, and they bring in the K9 unit. Like it's my son's dream. He had the best time. We have all these pictures, and I would show you some, but he's not wearing a shirt in any picture. He thinks he's David Hasselhoff or something. I don't know. But he had the best time. I, however, miss him like crazy. He's like, Nixon, my house is 99% quieter when Nixon's not there. Nixon talks, he asks me a million questions, he's all around me all the time, and I just love it so much. And so he was gone all week long, which gave me an opportunity to spend time with my daughter, who was home with me. And so Nora, on Wednesday night, my wife was going out to dinner with her friends, and so I said to Nora, I was like, hey, we can have a date. All right, we can either go to your favorite pizza place, or we can go to your favorite ice cream place, Bonky's. Guess where she picked? Bonky's, okay. She did say, can we have both? And I said, but I took her to Bonky's. And she got chocolate chip cookie dough ice cream. I made kind of a rookie move. I got the shaved ice, cotton candy flavor. So it's not technically ice cream, but man, it was good. Either way, we're sitting there and we cheersed our desserts. And I had like one of these dad moments. Not sad. I told you not sad. Okay, I had that moment. And I thought, man, these moments are going to be less and less the older she gets. And I saw some YouTube video recently that says there's all these moments that you have, last moments with your kids that you don't know. Like the last time you tuck them into bed. The last time you read them a book. The last time they reach out to grab your hand. All this sappy stuff. It's one of the YouTube videos like you're happy you watched, but you're sad you watched it. And I just thought, like, I just love my kids being home. The older they get, the more I want them home. I just like them with me. So this week I had one kid home and one kid who wasn't home. And it made me think about some of our spiritual journeys. Some of you are home. You're home. You're with the Father. You're in his house. Like you're saved. And not because you're good and not because you're good looking, even though you're good looking, but not good. But you follow the salvation journey. You're on the journey. But some of you, you're not home. And I don't say that to make you feel bad. I'm just saying like that's where you are. There's a story in the Bible called the prodigal son, where one son is home and one son is not home. And the son who's not home, he's out just kind of like doing crazy stuff. And the dad wants him to be home so much. And finally, the son who's out of the home, he comes to his senses. The dad, who represents God in the story, pulls up his robe and he runs to his son who is gone and he embraces him. And it's called the story of the prodigal son. The word prodigal means extravagant. And we always put that to the son. Okay, the prodigal son. He's the extravagant son. He's living crazy. Like, blah, blah, blah. No, the story is about the prodigal God. God is extravagant in his grace towards us. He's like, come home. Come under my roof. And so my question to you is, are you home? Are you saved? And if you are saved and it was the greatest decision you've ever made, would you just make some noise right now? If you're the greatest proof that Jesus is alive is a changed life. You just heard everybody who has been changed by Jesus. So if you're not home, today I would just like to invite you to come home.